You can't cook any more exact than that.
Big thanks to Bernhard for sponsoring this episode.
I'm gonna show you how to make a delicious Tex-Mex style tri-tip with a secret ingredient. Lately I've fallen in love with tri-tips, and these things in the Netherlands and all over Europe are pretty cheap. These things are the holy grail for barbecue. Regular people don't care about tri-tip, they don't care about fat caps. And that's exactly what this is. A beautiful dark red piece of meat, like a steak, with fat to add flavor to our dish. And the reason that this is called a tri-tip is because the grains run in 3 separate directions. I want to put some flavor on this tri-tip, so that's where we're going to start. I'm starting with 2 tablespoons of fleur de sel, followed by half a tablespoon of fresh ground pepper, a tablespoon of paprika powder, a tablespoon of onion powder, half a tablespoon of garlic powder, half a tablespoon of ground cumin seeds. This in itself as a rub is nothing special, it's just an ordinary rub. Mixed dry ingredients that work really well with a piece of meat. However, I like to add more texture and more flavor. I'm going to do that by chopping up some fresh cilantro. Cilantro and Mexican food go hand in hand. It's a really great mix. Some Western people might experience it as a little bit of a soapy flavor. Then use a little less, but don't leave it out. I'm going to add a tablespoon of that fresh cilantro and I'm going to mix that up. And now we arrived at our secret ingredient, and that's smoked jalapenos. These beauties are also known as chipotle peppers. And the crazy thing is that these little peppers will change the dish completely. If you leave them out, it will not have the same effect, it will not have the same flavor. And if you add them, you feel like you're in Mexico. I'm taking out my blender, remove the caps of the peppers and grind them down until they're fine. Now they have a beautiful, fresh, smoky aroma. This stuff's absolutely freaking amazing. It immediately gives you that wood fire experience of Mexican cooking. I'm gonna add the peppers to my dry rub. And now my Tex-Mex spice mix is ready for the tri-tip. The goal is to get a lot of flavor on the tri-tip, so I'm gonna rub it with a little bit of olive oil. Just drizzle a little bit on. And then sprinkle on the Tex-Mex spice mix. Now for the fat cap, I have a special treatment. I'm gonna carve into it, creating diamond shapes in the fat cap. Of course, the fat cap needs some seasoning as well, but just salt, no rub. Of course, I wanna cook this tri-tip to absolute perfection. And with Mexican food comes a little bit of smoke. So I'm gonna be cooking it on my Burnhard smoker. But to make sure I get it absolutely right, I'm gonna stick in my meter thermometer. I'm gonna place that thermometer in the thickest part of the meat. That way it will never be undercooked. Now the tri-tip is ready to go on the barbecue. And I don't want to set the temperature too high, but also not too low. Not too high because I don't want to dry out the meat. Not too low because I want that fat cap to render down. That's why I'm going to set my barbecue to 140 degrees Celsius. I'm going to place the tri-tip on the grill grate with the fat cap pointing towards the heat source. Now the fat cap is going to help protect the meat from drying out, and the rest is going to be nicely smoked. And while that beautiful tri-tip is smoking on the barbecue, it's time to make a beautiful Tex-Mex sauce. Starting it off with an onion. And of course, I'm also going to need 2 of these beautiful chili peppers. I'm gonna take the stems off. This is going to be part of the sauce, and I want them to stand out as a feature. So I'm not gonna chop them super fine. I'm just doing a coarse chop. Now I'm gonna turn on the hot plate, put a pan on, bring it up to frying temperatures, put in 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and now I'm gonna fry those beautiful chipotle peppers, and I'm gonna let them release their aroma. Then I'm gonna add the onion, and I'm gonna saute the onion, which is a fancy French word for just letting them sweat and let them become translucent. Then I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of our homemade Tex-Mex spice mix. I'm gonna mix it in with the onions, and then I'm going to add a can of tomato pulp. Now I'm gonna turn down the heat, and I'm gonna put the lid on and let this simmer for around 10 minutes. I just got the meter notification. My tri-tip is ready. So I'm gonna take it off the barbecue, put it on my board and let it rest for 3 minutes. And while my tri-tip is resting, I'm gonna plate up. I already prepared a bowl of nachos and rice. I'm gonna sprinkle on some pickled jalapenos, some beans, a beautiful homemade Tex-Mex sauce, a little bit of fresh chopped cilantro, and some fine grated Gouda cheese. And if you follow the instructions, you can see that the blue line, which is the set temperature, and the actual temperature of the pink line are now matching. You can't cook any more exact than that. And since the grain is running in 3 different directions, I cut it into 3 parts. This is a real Tex-Mex style dinner, and the tri-tip is cooked to absolute perfection. Hope you guys enjoyed this recipe, and if you're looking for the written down recipe, go to pitmasterx.com. See you guys next time. Until then, eet smakelijk and keep on grilling.